Welcome back to the Gooner Ramble podcast. I'm your host, Giles, and with me is regular panelist Clive and special guest Hugh Wizzy. Right, guys, let me start by giving you a quote from Arsene Wenger's post-match presser. He said, when he was looking for positives, he said, the first half was good base.
Positives. Sorry.
The first half was good. The basis was good. We have to be more clinical in what we create. Our final ball it wasn't quick enough. Our finishing was not the best. Clive, what do we need to do, apart from obviously scoring goals? How do we become better finishers or more clinical? How do we become, a team that we seem to have the basis to be, but aren't becoming?
Oh, mate, I was having a conversation with a couple of people on Twitter the other week, and with Gooner, Dave, and Jane Cavendish, right? And I thought, actually, I've been talking about where we play football, right? So I think we play football in the wrong areas, right? And it's not just reacting to what Spurs and Leicester are doing. I mean, today, again, our top two passing combinations were an El Neni to Ramsey and Ramsey to El Neni, right? So that tells you where we play. I think we play too deeply. I think we play in the wrong areas, right? So if you're going to be a possession team, you're going to have the ball. So teams will naturally drop away. So why are we playing in the areas with our centre-backs and our centre midfielders? I think if we're going to have the ball a lot and be a possession team, we need to look at teams that have a similar model and have a similar problem. Teams like Bayern Munich. And what Bayern Munich always have, you know what I'm going to say, G? They always have people that can beat you one-on-one. They always make sure they move the ball quickly into wide areas and have the threat of the dribble and the threat of beating a man. Because when you do that, you move people around and you move blocks around. I've been saying this for ages, but look at our home form. That tells you exactly where we're weak. At home, we've been met by the bus so many times, we haven't got a clue how to break it down, apart from the wall pass what you mentioned earlier, right? So if the wall pass don't work, then we're not getting in, right? So we haven't got a team of players that win their duels offensively one-on-one. We've got a team of very nice passes, and that pass football's becoming boring. So I would like to see the emphasis, the epicenter of our offensive football move further forward. And recognise the problem that we face, recognise that we have highly technical centre midfielders that can move it off one touch, which are going to force teams backward. And then when it goes out wide, don't give it to really a number 10 playing out wide in Ramsey or Ozil out wide. We want to have devastation out wide. We need to have devastation up front, and that's going to be the difference for us. So for me, that's a major issue why we're not scoring as many. And when I think back to I tweeted something today. I said, I just found a centre forward that we need. And I tweeted a link of Robin Van Persie. And when he was at Feyenoord when he first came to Arsenal. And you look at him shooting, the way he takes the ball on the half turn, just receiving a pass, his no touch turn, opens up the goal for a shot. And he's not waiting, he's shooting. He's not looking for a pass. We need that player. We have not got that centre forward. But on top of that, we haven't got the right one-on-one profile players to really make a difference.
Hugh, swing it over to you. I mean, what do you think in reaction to that? I mean, in terms of becoming the team we should be.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more, really. He's built a team of pass masters, if you like, who like shifting the responsibility onto the next guy. If you look at the way the team's set up, it's literally like we get to the final third, and because we don't have much dynamism, I think is the word I'm looking for. We don't have much explosive ability or any real, I suppose, pace, to get in behind. A lot of the time, I don't want to harp on about him, but he's a very much a one-touch finisher, so he relies on what I would call service on a silver platter. And if it doesn't arrive in the right way, the whipped cream paste on it, especially, which we just seem unable to grasp. The most base thing like that. Whipped crosses might actually work, but yeah, because we can't do that, what we seem to be doing is literally passing it sideways and passing it sideways again. And because, like you said, we don't have that guy who can go past a man, and sometimes you're relying on Sanchez to be that guy. But Sanchez, to me, fantastic player, right? It got us out of so many holes, but sometimes does lack a brain, and that combined with the fact that we have I call him the wall up there, and that's what we're working around. If it doesn't come off perfectly, I think that's what we're relying on. If it comes off perfectly, it looks beautiful when it happens. But if it doesn't, we really lack the ability to come up with anything creative or do it anything like you said. It's spur of the moment. It's magic. It's what we like to see in Iwobi, because he's got the ability to go past a man, or to fool a defender into thinking he's going one way or the other. A lot of our players are limited in that, and they're efficient at doing their job, but that is becoming more and more evident that possession football is not quite as important as perhaps, especially Arsenal put that focus on right now. Look at Leicester. I think they're 17th in the league as far as possession goes, and we had 70% of it today. And looking at the game, you're really questioning what exactly we're doing with it a lot of the time. I would say that it's a simple thing like this, right? I believe that we're actually closer than a lot of people think to having a top class team, like throughout the side. I'm talking like 3 top players, and we're there. So if we're that close, it's got to be a question of doing some ruthless movements in the next available window, or making sure that there is competition in the squad, and that these guys aren't resting on their laurels, because that's obviously what's happening. Whether it's a mentality thing or an injury thing, or whether it's whatever it is, there's definitely or as a result of whatever it is, there's definitely a mentality problem at the club, and that there's no doubt about it in my mind that they know it. It's evident when they're going forward into the final third that they don't trust each other enough. That there isn't that not telecommunication, but that when I watch Imran and Kevin Campbell, right, they understand each other. They know that when one gives it, one's gone, and as soon as he's gone, if you make the run, you're going to take the defender with him in open space. It's good for watch, and it's really actually what I fed with Arsenal is that electrifying ability to open up defences. And at the moment, we're stagnant and sideways. I'm calling us an FC these days.
Yeah, you're right. And I remember Campbell and Wrighty. Latterly, I'd say when they were in that season, that 18 months they had at Man United, where they were just on a different level. They were actually telling back, and they say sometimes it works in a training field, or sometimes you just get that connection. We don't seem to have that. We're hoping now that Iwobi and Welbeck, nurture that connection. But going back to shape, style, brand of football, we have to identify first what kind of football we want to play. Then we find the pieces to make that football effective. Both you've all said that we need to be playing higher up the field. So that means, does that mean getting the field quicker, becoming a more quicker transitioning team, so that we get the ball to the wide players, and then let them do their work, and then get the ball into a clinical striker, because obviously we need a clinical striker? Or do you think we can still do that with our dominant possession-based football? Clive, let me bring that to you first.
I just think we need to decide what we are for. More importantly, we need to decide have the right players that we can switch styles. Right, so because no game is the same. Like today was interesting actually. We were quite deep in defence, and so were Sunderland. And what that meant is that we had a big space in the middle. And today I'm looking at Ramsey and I'm saying, well, you look quite slow today. But maybe if it's a 5-a-side game and our defenders are pushed up and it's tap around the corner, Ramsey's much happier with smaller spaces to cover. His lack of pace isn't exposed. So if you're going to play Ramsey, then make sure you play a high defence. Maybe you can't play Mertesacker. So what's your strategy? Are you just picking people? What's your strategy?
That's it. So when you see the team sheet and I'm seeing Mertesacker and you're putting him against Defoe, I'm getting him behind him within the first 3 minutes. I'm questioning what's going on. I'm questioning why Ramsey's on the pitch after Coquelin and Elneny have been holding it. I'm questioning why Giroud's on the pitch when Welbeck's on the bench and he's listen. There's a lot of things that really tactically are suspect about today's performance, and especially the way the team was set out initially.
We don't help players. You mentioned something earlier about Ozil's career, and I think he's constantly done this throughout his time. He overburdened certain people. He did it with Vieira. He did it with Fabregas. He did it with Van Persie. He's doing it in reversal until they break and then they leave. Right, so if you look at Mertesacker, right, just take a classic example here, right? Mertesacker, he's not everyone's favourite. He's a bit slow. Hey, John Terry's a bit slow, right? But what they do at Chelsea is they play deep and they put a right-footed left back next to him in Aspilicueta and say to him, don't you leave his side, mate. You make sure you're aggressive on the front foot. If John goes forward on the front foot, you drop him behind him. And if he drops deep, you make sure you go and wrap. That's their strategy. What do? We have Mertesacker.
Where we play a high line, yeah.
We play, it doesn't matter where we play, because we play the most attacking right back in the world.
Yeah.
And he's the fastest player, and he's 35 yards away from it. Yeah. And you're absolutely right, Hugh. First ball, if you're Sam Allardyce, what's your team talk? Get Mertesacker one-on-one, go left to right, in behind him, because Koscielny won't be able to cover around. That's our best way to score. Because Bellerin is up the field by 30, 40 yards playing his own game. What's the strategy?
I do have to say that I agree with you guys wholeheartedly about, not adopting the strategy for someone like Mertesacker. I don't think Mertesacker's that bad. I've been mulling it over.
Mertesacker's fine.
It's about whether he's fine.
Yeah, it's all about the system. It's all about the system. I think if you put him in Leicester's defence cell, because of the way they play, they don't move. They sit back, they drop in, they don't move. But the way we play, playing a high line, and we don't have defensive midfielders that cover, they expose our central defenders. It leaves him as a recipe for disaster. So I get that.
I don't know how many times we want to be caught out with Bellerin playing up right wing and Mertesacker up on the halfway line. It's like we're literally, we are doing it to ourselves. And you can say that these players are fine, right? But the way I look at our team and the way when I say that we're a few players away from being a great, great team, is that you've got to play to your strengths. And at the moment, we're talking about combinations. So you've got a good combination between El Neni and Coquelin going on. When you think of combinations, do you think of our attacking midfielder linking with our striker? Do you think of Olivier Giroud working with Mesut Ozil? Does that work? You've got one Ozil who's the thinking man's footballer who's almost floating about the pitch, finding space the whole time, trying to look always, as soon as he gets the ball, always trying to look for a pass, always trying to look for you to move. Now, when I think movement, do I think about the guy we've got playing up front? No, I'm thinking about a wall who's standing there waiting for things to bounce off him. We are not playing to our strengths. And like you said, I'm seeing Mesut Ozil today. I'm analysing his body movements as usual. His body language is off. As usual, he's swearing. He's actually shouting at fucking, or swearing in English. He's incredibly frustrated. I cannot imagine what it's been like to come to Arsenal Football Club and have to play with some of the strikers that he's played up front with. I'm sorry. We are doing him a disservice. And like I said, it's a fountain effect, isn't it? It's like the domino thing. We're doing it to ourselves. It's painful to watch. Painful. That thing we're talking about with Defoe. It's like, this is simple. These are basics. And we keep falling for the same thing. How many times do we want to see it? Monaco, Barcelona? I mean, over and over and over again.
Do you think that's because he doesn't trust Gabriel and Koscielny as a partnership? Because you would have thought, Defoe, the kind of player he's hanging off the shoulder of the last defender, is better to play a Koscielny Gabriel partnership. Do you think he still doesn't trust Gabriel? Is that what it comes down to?
Well, you know what?
Because why else would you play Mertesacker in such a game?
Well, I like Gabriel. I know he's not the complete answer. I'd much rather have Rafa Varane there, right? But we're not going to get him out of Madrid. But I like the competencies of Gabriel. But he's had some up and down moments, right? So, but again, it's not. We leave our defenders one-on-one too much. I don't know if you read what was it Schillaci said about being a centre back at Arsenal. He's absolutely right. Our best two centre-backs in recent times, they were awesome animals physically.
What did he say? I haven't seen that.
Schillaci and Vermaelen both basically said that Arsene Wenger's style, his philosophy, left them exposed.
Kills centre-backs, basically. It kills centre-backs. Yeah. And he had the worst part of his career playing for us. Yeah. I remember when Schillaci signed, I was quite pleased. He played for Sevilla. It was a reputation. Yeah, I was really quite pleased. But of course, when you play for Arsenal, I call it Mertesacker bingo. I call it. You're one-on-one all the time, and the only ones that have done it well have been Colo Touré and Sol Campbell, and they were beasts. And what do? They win duels. They win duels. You can't take them on the front foot or back foot. And if you go near them, you're getting kicked, right? You can't outrun them, right? So you can't outjump them. So you need to be special athletes to play in a Wenger team defensively. Koscielny's a special athlete. Mertesacker isn't. So if you're going to play him, protect him. Make sure you have a fullback that's 10 yards away. Don't play Mertesacker bingo and expect to win things. Chelsea picked on him. Come on, let's not go through it, right? We're idiots and listen to this. We all know what happened. Diagonal, in behind him, bang. Sent off, game over. We're going down the pub, right? So it's just poor. And it goes back to the manager. He used to be ahead of all this. Now he's catching up and making decisions on the retreat. Right?
Let me ask you, go on.
No, mate, you're in.
About the Steve Bold effect, or in effect, depending on which way you see it. Now, Vermaelen made a comment similar to Scalacci, but I think somebody was saying that basically he was saying that Bold was given the defence. He had some sort of success, but it didn't fit with Wenger's offensive philosophy, so therefore Wenger decided to take back the control. Right. So I mean, we've got one of.
Where can I just ask where you're getting that from?
I think it was Vermaelen that said it.
Yeah, because I was going to say that I've seen so many interviews with Wenger, right, and I know that he takes everything. Like, he just takes everything. If he could do the cooking as well, he'd do the cooking. I'm sure he probably does do some of the cooking.
So, I mean, if that is the case, though, Hugh, I mean,
it's just like you asked the Steve Bold effect. Is it an effect? Is he? I'm sure he does. Like, obviously, he's there, he's working. He obviously got a relationship, rapport with the players and whatnot, and he's got experience that he can add this, that, the other. But I don't know if it's. I don't know if it's like effective what he's offering. I certainly
do you think that's an indictment on his coaching
well, no,
style,
it's not him. It's the same. Yeah. It's the same thing from the top to the bottom, and it's play to your strengths, right? And it's the same with Wenger. It's like, if you've got people who are just yes men, then where are we going? Like, we're literally like just pandering. And if we want to move forward, and you can see that there are things that need improving, and that he could be better, or his time and energy could be better spent in certain areas, then surely it's to our benefit or to our detriment not to be doing it. So, to me, when I say I'm behind time for change, I am behind time for change. Show me structured change that you're still involved in, I'll back it. But something has to change, because at the moment, right, stagnation is in effect. And what you're going to see happening soon is players start to, murmurings and all that when it's form the Euros and all this. They'll start to talk about up contracts. And I wouldn't be surprised if players like Mesut Ozil and Alexis Sanchez want actual confirmation that we're going to get upgrades on certain things in this squad and that we're going in the right direction. Because I know no one wants to hear it, but remember that message we got from Marvin, or whatever his fucking name is, twatface. He said something that every day I think about it, right? I hate to say it like this, but every day that I think about it, it strikes home a little bit more. And it's like, do you trust that we really are going in the right direction and that we have, the sufficient ambition to push us on to the next level? Because if we don't, then, I mean, I don't know. And like I said, it's kind of like, I'd love for them to be more transparent about everything, just to kind of tell us where we stand, because at the moment we are very much in limbo, and you get this feeling that they're kind of, I see the Twitter account, the official Twitter account, tweeting these fucking flicks and tweeting these, he watched this nearly missed video as he fucking does a header from 4 yards out and it goes 8 yards over. We're having a laugh. What is going on at this club? What is actually going on? Are we going to see? I mean, I'm asking you, Giles, now as well, because you've been asking all the questions. Let me ask you this, right? Yeah. Do you reckon this summer we're actually going to see development, or do you reckon we're going to be in the midst of? Hang on, let me finish. Right, in the midst of a whole bunch of other clubs that are now fully armed to the teeth and ready to actually do what they've got to do in the market. And we've already seen the way Leicester have been picking up little bits and bobs and they've turned into magic. Are we sure that Wenger is still even in the game like that? I love the guy, but honestly, like we were saying, or like one of you said earlier, perhaps he is a bit behind. What do you reckon, Giles?
I think listening to him in the last few weeks about a lack of being clinical in front of goal, the amount of chances we create, but the lack of ability to finish them off, the XG model that he talks about, I think this summer he's definitely going out to get a striker, a finisher. That's my gut feeling. Whether it's enough, whether he buys a left wing, which I also think we need, whether he buys a defensive midfielder, apparently Granit Xhaka.
Giles, how many years has he been trying to get a striker for now? What are we actually waiting for?
I think at this point in time he is seen, because we've never scored this. I think this is one of the worst seasons for goal scoring. I think this is one of our worst seasons for goal scoring.
I'll be honest, mate. You know that when you look at the top goal scorers in the Premier League, I look at the strikers who are scoring more goals than our players, and I'm just like, how are we allowing this to happen? This is
we're not yeah, exactly.
This is, and then I've got people tweeting me stats saying that conversion rates actually aren't that bad, but I'm very confused about the whole.
I believe I've heard that, which is one of our worst seasons for conversion rates. One of our worst seasons for conversion rates. And my gut feeling is he's going out and he's going to try and get a striker. I mean, in previous years,
we're not winning the league without striker, mate.
No, exactly.
We're not winning the league without striker.
I think
exactly.
I think it's more than just buying the players, right? I think it's about how we play. So I'm gonna talk for like a few seconds. I'm gonna tell you how Spurs play, right, and what they've done to make it a better season for them. All they've done is move the emphasis forward, right? So the trigger for them has been the addition of Eric Dyer. What he's done, he's moved Rose and Walker further forward. Rose and Walker, we've seen them for years. We've never worried about them two. They'll always give you a goal. They're not near their goal anymore. They're running forward. They're causing problems. They're no longer flat back four fullbacks. They are go forward fullbacks. So he has created a system that makes his power athletes really effective. He's found a position for Dyer, who was an ineffective right back, an ineffective centre back. He's found a position for him. So there you go, bang, 3 players. He's given security to his centre backs, Vertonghen and Alderweireld, by putting another player around them. And he's not building for midfield. He's playing higher at the pitch. He's banging it forward, big diagonals from the back, and they are pressing and they are working for the ball. So what he's done, and I don't think it's Real Madrid we're talking about here, but what he's done is, I've got his group of players, I've now found a system which works for them, gives them confidence, they all believe in it, and they're going to run around for me. I'm going to make them fitter. Look at Dembele, right? Dembele's been there for a while. He's always been a little bit heavy, a little bit slow. Great technician, can't last games. Suddenly lasting games. Suddenly signed a new 4-year contract. They've got runners aplenty, playing high up the pitch, banging shots, banging crosses, most shots on target, least shots conceded. Because when they lose the ball, you've got to go through 3 departments.
Are you saying that this is the formula, Clive? Are you saying that this is the formula?
I'm saying what I see with them is a strategy.
Right.
You see what I mean?
That's what
if I said to
about.
you now, tell me Arsenal strategy.
That's what I said to you at the beginning.
There's no way he had a strategy.
We don't have a brand. We don't have identity.
I could not be that articulate about Arsenal's strategy. And if I was, I'd get argued down. Because we'd all disagree with it.
Exactly.
And that's the issue.
And that's what I said at the beginning of the show. What is our identity? What brand? What football do you think that we... What we do is we are changing individuals in certain positions and seeing how they perform. But we're not helping them with a strategy. We're playing Mertesacker bingo. We've stuck Ramsey in centre midfield because he says he wants to, but he's got no discipline. He doesn't know where to stand. He's got no idea of distances. We stick Iwobi on the left, but he's a number 10 doing a great job. We got Ramsey who's really number 10 and number 8. We got Ozil's number 10 trying to find space. We got Cazorla's number 10 who's really, and he's playing number 4 because that's his best position. We got number 10s aplenty. Sanchez is a second striker. We got no first striker. Let's be honest, Welbeck's got all the attributes, but he's not a goal scorer. What's our strategy? We haven't got the right profile of players.
But there is something there for us to build upon. Even if we add Jack in there, what is Jack? Is he a 10 or is he an 8 or is he a 4? Can he run? No, he can't. Have we got a problem? Absolutely. Is he too small? Yeah. Is he going to win duels? No, he's not. So we've got some decisions to make.
Yeah.
We've got decisions to make.
I think what I'm seeing from this conversation is Hugh's already lost trust in faith in Wenger. It sounds like you are too.
No, do you know what? Let me say this, mate. Let me say this, right? It's not only that I've lost faith in Wenger, right? I never stopped loving Arsenal. I've come all the way over to New York, and I'm still as deep in it as if I was over there, been over there the whole time. What I'm saying is, like, the club, when I look at it, it feels different, and it is different, and we've got to be very careful about the next step. And that's why, to me, it's almost shocking that we've allowed so many great managers to move around, and that we are so even so focused on the manager when there is a lot more at the club that needs changing. Talk about players. We want to talk about people that have actually got an interest, the best interest of the club at heart, and aren't using it to deposit on ranches. I mean, with all due respect, there is consultation, and there's £3 million worth of consultation. There's putting into the club, and there's not putting a fucking penny in. There's having a guy who's, given a lot of stick by Arsenal fans, especially online, in Roman Abramovich, but he's there at every fucking game, and he's literally spent freely, willy-nilly on that side, to the point where he's pushed them to being, in the Forbes ratings ahead of us. I'm thinking, how is this happening? We've got the perfect model. We have got a professor of economics at the helm. There is something else that's intrinsically wrong at the club for me. I'm not talking about the fact that Theo Walcott's missing from 4 yards and Giroud can't fucking finish his dinner. It's a lot bigger than that. That's why I say, I've lost a little bit of faith here. I've lost a little bit of faith there as well, mate. I look at it as I actually started reading into what the club was, because someone left a YouTube comment on one of my videos, and it said, you need to look at what your club actually is, mate. Because when your club was first founded, when your club was first bought anyway by the guy who's noted as founding your club, it became a business. And in 2008 or 2010, it officially, finally becomes a PLC. And we are now in the plastic generation, my friends. Twitter is ahead, 140 characters and no more are needed. We don't read books anymore, we read tweets. We want it now. And people have lost patience. They want Snapchat's live, exclusive, available information on the ready go. Arsenal, we're lagging behind on that kind of thing. And that is, I'm not talking about the Twitter game. I'm talking about, we're missing where, for example, say Wenger was so adept at finding these gems, where he was so in touch with the French league. We're being outmaneuvered by clubs that have suddenly somehow skipping us. And whether that's that little financial injection that everyone's getting from the Premier League or whatever it is, the fact is we need to do something before we get left behind, and that foundation that we've built is wasted.
It's a big question. None of us seem to know the answer. I mean, we've got when you think of you talk about the club as we are now. We bought Stat DNA 5 years ago. Is that right?
Gabriel's a stat. Listen to Gabriel. When you look at his La Liga record, he is statistically phenomenal.
Yeah.
He is so perfect a model, apparently, and I'm talking to someone who is very close to actually working with Arsenal on stats, that it will come good. Mm. The thing is, if you don't give guys a run of games, or if you're bringing on guys and their communication isn't up to the right standards, then all of these things have a knock-on effect. And we're throwing these guys in here and there, and then we're switching. And today's another example. Fine if you're going to go with Mertesacker, but at least strategically set up to use Mertesacker properly, place your strengths. Yeah. Like the same way that we're doing with Ozil. I'm sorry to say this, but we are wasting that guy. Wasting him.
We're not giving him no speed. And actually, Giles, you're looking for a positive, right? On statistics, that's where Arsenal are probably number one in the world. They're the most proprietary data of any club. And they are really pushing forward in that space. And everyone assumes, I want to kill an assumption, right? So everyone assumes that Steve Bowles, ex-centre half, and he's a defensive coach. Steve Bowles' main strength is his analytical skills. his mathematical skills, right, and how he analyzes statistics, right. So he's the brain behind this. He's one of the many brains that Arsenal employ. So I think that's a misnomer. We should kill that because I don't think it's correct.
Okay, cool. All right. Let's move on to listeners' questions. The first one's coming from Brian at Gunner Faithful, and he asks, do you think Ozil lays down an ultimatum to the club in the summer? So as goes back to what you said, Clive, Hugh, about promises, assurances, I suppose, from us, from our key players in the club. What do you think?
Do you know, I wouldn't, this is almost kind of, what's it? It's always self-harming. I can't remember the word, but basically it's like, if he's serious about himself, if he's a serious guy, right? If he's a winner, like I know this guy is, right, deep down. He's not a confrontational guy, obviously, but if he's a winner, surely he's going to demand that. And surely, why wouldn't you want him to? Surely if he's demanding that, that's the best for us. And if he's not being given it, that's another clear indication, mate.
Walid,
I can't say whether he's going to lay down an ultimatum, but I'm saying, like, say he does.
Mm.
Well, surely that's in our best interests. Maybe it's showing that he's a bit of, an outspoken guy, but if that's in our best interest, let's back him and let's actually do something about it. Because if a guy who's as non-confrontational and as softly spoken as he is, or he appears to be to the public, it's showing that it's very necessary.
Do you think? There's talk about there's a deal on the table. He's agreed it in principle. Have you got faith that he'll sign it here?
Absolutely.
I think he will, but I tell you what, he's 27 years of age, and he's now giving up the prime years of his career.
Yeah, that's it.
We can't give him Olivier Giroud for his prime years of his career, and Giroud should be one of the. We should use Giroud like Leicester use Joa. Occasional, bring him on last 20 minutes. Right, when you need to go aerial. He shouldn't be our number one, right?
He's very useful in like, say his last 5-10 minutes and we've got corners to defend. He's brilliant. Say,
or it's an outball.
Yes. It's just bewildering to me how three fucking, no offense lads, but three nobodies from fucking anywhere can put this together, and it's a problem for the guys who've got the stat DNA guys on board. I mean, come on, that's what's going on.
Against West Brom, Giroud was perfect, right? Because West Brom had 4 centre-backs playing in defence, and they just play for set pieces. You need Giroud, right? And he had an okay game. Sunderland away, green spaces. Come on, man. It doesn't take much to work out.
Okay, let's move on to Walid Omer 15. Now, we've already discussed this, but he asked, what system do you play with the current players on a high pressing game with high intensity? Do you agree with that, Clive? Current players, best system for them?
Well, I don't think they're a high intensity team, right? We're a high technical passing body shape team. Some of our passing creation is as good as it's ever been, right? But there's no Thierry Henry on the end. There's no Robin van Persie on the end. There's no devastation, right? So until you add the devastation at the top end, it's just going to be pretty patterns on a cake, but you never get to cut it.
Hugh, we've got another question from here from @Lids1990, and he asked,
Sorry. Can you just ask me that question that you just asked him?
All right. Walid Omer asked, what system do we play with the current players? I would play a more pressing game, more high intensity. That's what Walid Omer says.
Okay, right. This ties in quite closely to this infatuation Arsenal fans have got with Simeone. It's lovely. You know, it's the little. I mean, he's the fans' favourite right now, right?
The hipster choice.
The hipster choice. There we go. That's the one I was looking for. Can I just let everyone know that if Simeone was to come to Arsenal Football Club, which is very unlikely that he would, given the success that he's having at Atleti, but say he was to come, our club would need the players, the physios, everything. It would just need complete flushing. Like, everyone would have to go. You'd maybe be able to keep, I would think, about 4 or 5 players. None of the rest of those players are surviving for more than 10 games under that guy. This guy works these guys like slaves. These guys their lives are on the line every game, and we are not committed like that. I'm sorry, we are just not up for throwing our lives under a bus for Arsenal Football Club. These guys are not. They're too comfortable. They're too. I just can't stress that enough. Anyway, I just want to say that on the pressing point, I feel like Arsenal Football Club would crumble under Simeone right now. It would need complete flushing if we were to work with a manager who wants to demand as much as he does, or managers like that do from their players.
Indeed, I agree. At Lids 1990 says, has Wenger lost his dressing room? If so, where do we go from here? Hugh, very quickly, what's your question? Do you think he's lost his dressing room, first of all?
You know, I'd say like this, right? I reckon maybe in the back of their minds a lot of them he has, yeah. But the front that they'll show is that everything's fine because they're so comfortable. Like, one of the difficulties about getting players like Adebayor off your books is that they're on these ridiculous wages, and no other clubs are rationally thinking like we are. Like, our setup is just so, it's almost like charitable. You know, the way that we keep...
It's inefficient, yeah.
It's just not effective. You've got Diaby playing his second consecutive, or starting his second consecutive game for the first time since February 2013 today, and he's gone off injured again. And he's a classic example of this faith and trust that we've got in these players. And it's just not effective in this modern day, like I was saying before, it's this Snapchat era where it's now. If you're not good enough now, you're on the boat. Yeah, you're out the door. That's it. We're letting guys hang around on 50k a year, or 50k a week. Fucking 50k a year. I should be saying, listen, we're having a laugh, mate. Yeah, anyway, sorry.
I do wonder if a football auditor came in, how many inefficiencies they would actually find.
I don't actually think people realise as well that the last fiscal year we lost money. We're not actually that efficiently run. And the wage structure for these players that are not actually giving us that much or enough, it's got to change.
Absolutely. Clive, next question for you is from @JazzAFC, and he says, could Arsenal have saved their season in January window, or were there too many gaps?
Oh, crikey. I think the one sad thing for me was as soon as Welbeck was injured at the start of the season, was not buying another forward with similar pace up front. That was a miss. And obviously we spoke about El Neni earlier on. She could have come in earlier. Given what happened to players in centre mid, he would have covered a lot of issues, right? So those two were obvious. It was the Jack and Welbeck thing. We never replaced them. And if we'd have replaced them earlier, we definitely would have gained more points. But, in life, I think you should get what you deserve. And the way we've played in certain games, we haven't been unlucky. We haven't deserved to get anything from them, right? So I wouldn't have wanted to win the league this year because we just haven't played a string of games to really warrant it. We haven't shown. We can talk about our highlights on one hand, right? So for me, we just need to. There's no one there in January we could have got, as far as I know, that could have really changed things. What we've been talking about for the last hour or so has been about the culture and the mentality, and that is set, and is that what needs to change. We've got to stop playing FIFA with the squad and actually look at the mentality and the culture of the players and how they're being led, and that's the issue, right? So either he needs to change how he's doing that and change his accountability structure, or he needs to change. And so I think he's unlikely to do that because he's a humanist. So he needs to change. Simple.
Last question for both of you is from @BobbyAno_, and he or she asks, what are the chances of Wenger changing his style or tactics of play for next season? Hugh, very quickly to you, what are the chances in your book?
Well, it's about the players that we have on board already, obviously, because it's not going to make, I don't think, drastic changes. But, if we are to have real change, then it will be, I think, heavily focused on working around the strengths. You've got to play to Ozil's strengths. You've got to be able to to be able to have an answer to teams that are going to sit back and hit us on the counter. We've got to be able to do basic things. I just wanted to touch on this as well, right? That back in January was too late already. What we should have done is dealt with this in the summer. And I literally cannot believe that I've been mugged off again. I'm sorry. And if it, God, it's just so frustrating. I'm thinking of Southampton, maybe even West Brom, right? Southampton.
Well,
repetition at Chelsea, United, so many opportunities, and literally we're so predictable. It's just so predictable. But yes, I would say that the only changes we're going to see tactically from Wenger is if he actually decides to get ruthless with players, because what's happening at the moment is, to me anyway, we're playing. It's to our detriment the way that we're playing, and it's fully focused on certain key areas that just they need updating. How we have carried on a season, actually, like what has Arteta offered this season? What is Rosicky offering this season? What is going on with having Matthew Flamini still at the club? There's so many things that need sorting out this summer. It's unbelievable. I'm not sure that we will see tactical changes or major tactical changes unless he actually brings in players, because the focus is still going to have to be on guys like Giroud.
Clive, question to you, the same question to you. Chances of Wenger changing his style tactics for next season?
I think what he needs to do is really make players. For him to do that, he needs to lose some real big players, right? So there are players there that we've been carrying for a long time, and they need to go. And only then can you shake up the comfortable culture, right? So there are a couple of players I've got my eyes on. The ones that are older, obviously they will go.
Come on, name and shame, mate. Name and shame.
No, okay. We got the three oldies on having a pension, right? Arteta, Flamini, and Rosicky. They've had another $6 million a year each. Well done, lads. Move
Incredible.
on. And then you got Debussy, who was shocked by the rise of a 19-year-old, so he sulked for the first half of the year. He will go. You've got a goalkeeper who doesn't fancy being number 2, so he will go. So that's 5 straight away. People debate Mertesacker. I'm easy on it, as long as we add another 1. And so, and that other one has got to be, tall enough, fast enough, strong enough. And I think 2 of our Brits should go. And the 2 I would choose would be Walcott and Ramsey. And I choose them because I think they epitomise the comfortable culture at Arsenal. Golf playing professional footballers, right?
Instagram
that have got it all. They play for their countries. They got it all. It's all lovely. Right, but they don't produce on the pitch, yet they agitate for their wages when the contract time comes up. Right, so for me, I would go with those 2 because they're a little bit older, at 25, 26, 27. I'd go with those. I would still give some of the younger ones another go. People debate Gibbs. I'm not. I think Gibbs is inoffensive, and I wouldn't push him out the door. But if you do something like that, I think that shakes things up. That says, crikey, we're selling people at 25, 26. Arsenal don't do that. We need to do that. That's the only way the manager can convince people he's serious, by taking a couple of his friends out the door, taking them out, setting them on, and reinvesting with some hungry, fitter, more edgy players that really want to play for the club.
Okay, Hugh, I asked you that question, didn't I?
What's that, mate? Which one?
Yeah, you did. So I hope that answers, because I've got a question here from Swedish Gooner. So I hope that answers Swedish Gooner's question, because he asked the same about which players should be sold or leave. My only concern with that is that's a lot of people out of the revolving door.
That's why I said before, I honestly can't see it being as drastic like that, especially with the English players, because the homegrown thing is so valuable right now.
And we don't know what's going on with Brexit, right? So we don't know how that works. But yeah, I mean, I just don't see that many players leaving, because that would mean so many players coming in, and he doesn't bring in.
There's also the youngsters. He's talked about bringing youngsters through. He's talked about Willock. I think Zelalem. I think Crowley Bielik looks like he might get a chance as well. So we're already talking like we've got fill-ins, or there's.
I wouldn't worry about the homegrown. There's enough homegrown at Arsenal coming through, and he can go to buy. There's a young right back at Chelsea called Ola Anya, who's coming to the end of his contract. That is a monster right back who's homegrown. There's a young left back at Leicester, Ben Chilwell, who'll be homegrown. There are options out there. I wouldn't worry about that. It's more that we can't carry Theo Walcott for another season. I've argued with all of my mates how good he was when they were telling me he was rubbish. And I argued, and finally at Old Trafford, I gave up. I gave up protecting him, right? So, and we gotta make those changes, otherwise no one's going to take it seriously.
I feel like I've got a bit on my chest now as well. So cheers for that.
I have to say, you were really. I was like,
You see, when we don't win, right? I even though I've actually not in my heart of hearts, right? I think we lost the league a long time ago.
Yeah.
Probably United.
Yeah, that's
And
exactly.
maybe even confirmation when Coquelin got sent off. And to me, it's like, I don't cool down when we fail, even though I know afterwards, because it's so frustrating seeing what I think is basic. These guys just doing it over and over again. Yeah, anyway, but yeah, good to get off my chest, to be honest.
Yeah, you were like, I was thinking, Ross. This guy obviously hasn't come down for the video. I was having a blind and every time they're blue, bro. I was thinking, okay. Let's see. Yeah, it's not. But I gave up. At Old Trafford, man. I was just like, even though it wasn't mathematical, I gave up from there because from what I saw from that team that day, I just thought, nah.
It was there for him, right? Swansea and Trafford, it was there for him.
Swansea compounded it for me. Yeah. Swansea, look, they, like you said, Clive, they dropped players because they had their eye on the relegation game the next week or at the weekend, and they still beat us.
Yeah.
That's
unforgivable. That's unforgivable. From that moment on, they lost me, right? And I'm not the sort of guy that sends his steak back at dinner. I'm pretty quiet, right? But I'm sorry. That's it.
It's unbelievable. And you know what? From this conversation this evening, I just get the impression we don't have faith in either Wenger or the administration changing for the better. I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. Because there were points where we were actually arguing with each other.
You know, arguing with you. My main fear, man, is like that. We'll change the manager, right? And people won't be satisfied, or what will come to fruition is like, this is what we are now. And there's almost like an acceptance that this business model works, so why change it?
The only thing I'd say, Hugh, right, is Wenger doesn't extract maximum from this squad. I don't think it's simply a case of we're not giving him enough.
There's no denying that. No denying that. And that's why, I'll be honest, mate, you know, like, I'm a staunch, I'm not Wengerian, I'm not that type of guy to be like, let's take fucking sides of that, but I support the manager because in my eyes, he's so great. Mm-hmm. But it's obvious to even me that it's like, it's not the same, we're not working in the same environment anymore. And fucking, I studied this shit when I was at school, and I tell you straight, right, the only people that survive are the ones who adapt. And if you don't adapt, you're finished, mate. And right now, he looks like he's finished. And I tell you what, mate, like I was saying before, I do that whole analytical thing. I look at like people, even when they're talking to me in front of me, my mind's doing 100 things. I'm very switched on because I've been so fucking active upstairs my whole life. What I'm seeing with this guy is that he's actually lost belief in himself. And that to me is probably a bigger worry because he's put faith in these guys and he's seeing he's made the mistake.
But there's a couple of rumours coming out of France that he may retire in the summer due to ill health. And I don't know if you've studied the interviews lately and take away the emotional side of it, from a football perspective.
There's definitely
and look at
something
the man.
on his mind.
There's something on his mind. There's something happening there.
Yeah, definitely.
It would not surprise me in the slightest.
He came out to one of the press conferences. It was like he'd just been crying. He looks like he's broken.
Yeah, he looks very, very frail, very aged, and he's been here before. But
he's been
here before. But this time, I don't know. I think the modern era, I think, has really surprised him. The vitriol by which he's been spoken about, the constant attention, not just from the media, but from 7 million Twitter followers, right? It's constant. It's on the radio. It's 24/7. And everyone's got an opinion. And I think that's really caught him out. I think he's been caught out by it. And I'm not sure he can handle it. I'm not sure he wants to.
But he said that he doesn't break a contract. So do you think after the end of 2000?
Well, I wouldn't break an £8 million a year contract, mate. I'll be pretty staunch on that one.
Despite, no matter what they say in France, the health and that, I think he's going to stay on to 2017. Whether he signs a new deal or not, I don't know. But I almost think, what is the point of staying on for just a farewell tour? If you're not going to go out and go balls out and do what you need to do to actually try and win this thing, what is the point of doing a farewell tour? That's what it's going to be like. It's going to be like the Rolling Stones.
It's interesting, right? It's interesting, right? When you step outside the box, right? If you consider yourself a neutral, listening to what you guys have just said, right? If you look at like the history of the Premier League, it's usually the finishes are usually based very closely on the salaries, the wages of the players, or the budget that they allow to spend on the players. This is one of those years where it's been completely skewed with. So it's almost like they can write it off as an anomaly. And technically, if I'm playing devil's advocate with myself, which I often do when I'm sitting here thinking about what's going on at this fucking club, they could almost be like, okay, well, let's just go back to the drawing board and start again. Because with Arsenal, it's not a question of, right, let's go out and plan how to win the league. It's actually a question of, right, we've got our guys, we're looking good, let's see where we finish. And that mentality, there's no doubt that spreads to the players.
I agree completely. I mean, what Kroenke said about, not getting into it to win leagues, it just sounds like his thing is about building a brand and earning as much, whatever it is, money from it as possible without the actual added burden of trying to win trophies to actually, make it even more successful. When I look at the Glazers, they're cunts, but fucking hell, look what they've done to that club. Do you know what I mean? They're in a position now where they don't even, they're fourth, they're seventh, they're whatever, but they can go out and put 10% shareholdings on the stock market and bang, they get 100 million. Do you know what I mean? Because of the success that has been laid down by that club. We can't even compare to that. We don't think in that way. Like, he's thinking, we carry on in this vein, being successful, being a global brand in Asia and so on and so forth and rare. And I'm thinking, you're never gonna, Gazidis saying that we're gonna catch up to Bayern Munich. I'm thinking, no, we're not.
I'd actually really like, Gazidis to be questioned more. I know Stan is basically like silent Stan. I think he's spoken once about Arsenal, and it wasn't, as far as I know anyway, it wasn't to Arsenal fans, it was at some convention.
Yeah, the slow thing, yeah.
Yeah. I'd love Gazidis to be put on the spot more, because I feel like, I would point the fingers at like a few people. It's not just Wenger. He's definitely responsible for the things going on the pitch and the players coming in and all that. But I'd say I looked to Gazidis to be financially appealing, or I don't see it. I don't actually see commercial. I don't actually see commercial deals, right, that are impressive. I really don't.
Yeah. I get that because the headline deals look different, but when you dig down not very far into the numbers, they're not really that impressive.
And you know why that is? Because although they protect the Arsenal brand massively, and the Arsenal way is probably Wenger's greatest achievement. When you say you play football the Arsenal way, everyone knows what you mean. But we're not winning like we used to. So the brand, although they're reaching their financial targets by finishing a top four, we're not winning like we used to.
No.
So we are not maximising those commercial deals. So where do we go for the shortfall? We go to the fans. And then we have the highest revenue in the world on match day income. But on the commercial side, we're not punching our weight, right? And so the brand is under threat. And I do think we are starting to miss some of our targets. And Hugh's absolutely right. We lost 3 million in the last 6 months. Mm-hmm. We lost 3 million. You know my views, Giles. £9 fish and chips and we lost 3 million.
Yeah.
That can't be right.
How does that happen?
Can't be right.
Okay, I think there's a good point to wrap it up. Before we go, Hugh, you've got this 30 in 30 thing going on your YouTube channel. Just let us know what that's about.
Yes, mate. 30 videos in 30 days on all sorts of things, football topics and otherwise. Make sure you check it out if you get a chance. youtube.com/Hugh Wizzy. Or if you haven't got the time for that, just follow me on Twitter.
Coolio. And follow us also on the iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud. If you're an Android user, you've got Acast, Stitcher, Player FM, whole multitude of platforms where you can find the Gooner Ramble podcast. I want to thank Clive, the regular, for coming on again. Clive, see you next week. We're going to Norwich, aren't we?
We are, and we shall be drinking our sorrows, mate. Tell you that.
Make sure you got some deep pockets, bro.
Don't worry about it. I'm doing shots. I'm doing the lot. Tell Akil to watch out. I'm coming.
All right, so that's been a Good Ramble podcast. Thanks for listening and take care. Up the Arsenal.